Sushma.
Okay, everybody, I will repeat the 11 principles and someone, Lan joined. Hi, Lan, howdy.
Hi. I have a question. Did you start at 11 or 10:30? I saw two.
I started at 10:30. I started at 10:30, but I couldn't get in, and I'll explain to you later what happened.
Good,
but
okay.
I did start a little bit later. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Extreme
just join.
apologies. Yeah. Okay, thank you everyone for attending. And this is part 2 of chronic inflammatory disease. And these are the 11 principles. No refined foods ever. That means no Ensure. If you've got low weight, don't drink Ensure. If you're on high weight, if you're trying to lose weight, don't drink all those calorie restricted fen type drinks. Nutrient density, pay for quality. Every bit of, I went into the city last week and there's Wi-Fi, the food was bad, and I instantly felt very, very ill. And the second I came back here to my food, things got immediately better. Remember that every diet contains some animal food. So anyone tells you vegan diets are good, shun those counsels, shun that advice. If you see vegan mothers with vegan children, rest assured their children are going to have mouths full of cavities, poor bone development, poor mental stability. Every diet contains some animal food. Some raw animal food is always consumed raw. It could be yogurt, it could be raw cheese, it could be raw meats, it could be anything raw. There are high levels of enzymes and beneficial bacteria. And Vidya, I just wanted to say, are you eating ample beneficial bacteria every single day?
I'm not.
I've started now. I got organic cheese and that kombucha is there.
Okay.
And wheat sauerkraut. And then this we get, but that is not raw, or maybe from not. I can't say that it's not pasteurized. Laban, like the buttermilk.
Okay.
Which is with a probiotic.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but now I have got a contact of a farm, so soon I'll be getting the milk delivered.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever you do, you have to make or get sauerkraut. I would say for you, you need to be in a low candida diet, which is replace the kombucha with kanji. You take a big gallon jug, put cauliflower, carrots, cabbage or something in it, put water in it, it turns sour. Drink that instead of kombucha. Kombucha has too much sugar in it. Kombucha also has yeasts in it. You want, if for the skin issues, you want to be on a low thrush, low candida diet.
Okay.
So eat your probiotics with care. So you can eat yogurt, raw cheeses. Not organic is not raw necessarily. So go to the markets there. They may have fresh raw cheeses over there. Fresh raw buttermilk, fresh raw kefir. Try and get kefir cultures. And eczema is like the canary in the coal mine. That is where your body is showing extreme signs of distress. So heat it. And the only cure for that is diet. Only cure is diet.
You heard that?
Yeah.
And you said in a jar I have to put cauliflower, carrots, and plain water.
Plain water, and put in ginger or whatever you like. Fill it up 1/3 vegetables, 2/3 water. It'll ferment over the next few days into a beautiful sour thing. Put salt in it. It'll taste really good. Okay. And drink that as your fluid, especially when you go out and it's hot. That's a great probiotic food. It will help with the eczema greatly. You need to eat raw animal foods. If you can find raw cream, raw milk, whatever you can find, drink it raw. Every culture contained high levels of enzymes and beneficial bacteria. You need to get the right bugs into you, which means a variety of ferments. And never make your atta, sourdoughs without souring them, fermenting them. Otherwise, you get phytates and lectins that disable your digestive capacity. And so many people get skin disease from eating breads that are low time fermented or things that are not leavened. So you need to even when you eat oatmeal, soak it, leaven it, or ferment it overnight with some, whey or buttermilk or something. Avoid polyunsaturated fats. This is the liquid oils. Liquid oils are toxic to your health, to your skin. You need saturated fats for your skin cells to have integrity. The minute your skin cells lose integrity, your skin becomes a leaky sieve, just like your gut barrier. So you're focusing on eating saturated fats, lots of them, and avoiding polyunsaturated fats, such as oils, liquid oils. In these old diets, all historical civilization diets, they had almost equal amounts of omega-3 and omega-6s. And that's because they did not eat industrial oils like we do. Every diet contains salt. So if anyone tells you go on a salt-free diet, pay no attention. You get salt either from food or from meat or from milk or blood or urine or from the ocean. You need connective tissue. Connective tissue gives you the colloidal stuff that keeps your exoskeleton, endoskeleton, the structure of your cells intact. So you need to use your bone broths well. And we talked a lot about providing for future generations last time, which is our mothers and our grandmothers should have told us this stuff. This needs to pass from generation to generation, because today we have passed laws in California that prevent doctors from telling their patients the side effects of the COVID vaccine. They can lose their license. Your doctor is not going to tell you what is good for you, but your grandmother will. Your mother will.
Love it.
So you have to provide for future generations if you care about them, guys, because nobody else will. Water, everyone's getting clean, unchlorinated, unfluoridated water, I hope. Lots of lacto-fermented vegetables and foods, and experiment. Claudia here runs the fermentation club and ferments all sorts of local stuff. Use those ferments, eat them. They are magical for your skin health, for your bowel movements, for your gut health, for your asthma, eczema, cancers, everything. Eat cold pressed fats, cold pressed, which have not been heated, and fats that are minimally processed. That means no corn oil, no soy oil, none of these industrial oils. And try and pay for good quality pastured eggs, oysters, liver, meat, bone broth, master tonic. Let me see a show of hands. How many people have made master tonic? Anyone else? Anyone else? Guys, you have to make your master tonic and drink your master tonic. That is the whole point of this session, these meetings. Make your master tonic. Anyone want to say what the recipe is? Equal parts of what and what, guys?
Can't remember.
Garlic, garlic, then ginger, and something.
Onion,
And then
ginger, garlic,
Turmeric.
turmeric root, horseradish, peppers,
horseradish.
hot peppers. Coarsely chop them, add them to a mason jar, top up with
ACV.
ACV, apple cider vinegar. That is magical antiviral, enzyme-rich food that is amazing for your health. If you have diabetes, your master tonic is the thing to take 4 times a day. If you have urinary tract infections, if you have skin issues, master tonic.
Master tonic. What kind of pepper? Excuse me, what kind of peppers?
Hot peppers, the hottest you can bear. And if you cannot bear hot peppers, use less hot peppers or skip the peppers. Ginger, garlic, turmeric, onion, serrano peppers, horseradish, any of these pungent aromatic roots and herbs. These are cancer curing. These are amazing, amazing foods to get into your body every day. And it will last for years, but you should finish it. You'll finish it in a few months.
And no turmeric powder.
No powder, root, but you can put in turmeric powder. If you don't have root, go with what you've got. Just use what you've got and start using it. It makes wonderful salad dressing when it's mixed with some cold pressed olive oil or hollandaise sauce. So use it liberally in soups, salads, sautés, etc. Okay, so those are the things you want to eat. And saturated fats, everybody knows what these saturated fats are. They are fats that coalesce at room temperature, that are sort of solidish at room temperature, that have short chain fatty acids, 2 medium chain, 2 long chain, but that are very, very saturated. So there's fewer double bonds to make them rancid. If you can find tallow, lard, coconut oil, palm oil, cream, butter, ghee. I cook in ghee. I cook in tallow, ghee, lard, coconut oil. So these saturated fats don't burn, don't oxidize at high temperatures. So you want to cook in saturated fats.
Would you, Kalamai, excuse me, would you put back that other one, that list that had things to eat, lacto fermented vegetables, etc.?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Thank you. Mahalo. That's cold pressed. Cold pressed. Sorry, this is a first time, and you've come into our lives. My husband's listening.
Okay, husband, these are the very foods that will heal you.
Thank you. And I want to thank my cousin Calais. You heard her name several times now. Yes. She is the one that got me hooked up with you and said, cousin, you have to listen to her, become a member. I happily will become a member. Wonderful. Just with what you shared, it's unbelievable for us. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And the main thing to remember is take the USDA food pyramid, the guidance of the United States Department of Agriculture and the dietitians, turn it upside down. Turn it upside down, and those are the foods you eat. You start with the fats, you start with the green vegetables, the wonderful vegetables, but they need to be slathered in fats in order to metabolize the minerals in those vegetables. You cannot digest anything unless you have fat-soluble vitamins A, D, K, and E. These are only present in, take a guess. Anyone guess?
Fats.
Animal fats.
Animal fats, exactly. They build your cell membranes. They make your heart beat more efficiently. They make little bodies of energy, like little bullets of energy called ketones. These are the properties of fatty acids that are critical. If you get your energy from carbohydrates, you will hit a wall. At some point after ingesting many carbohydrates, your pancreas give out and you go from being a type 2 diabetic to a type 1 diabetic. What we have worldwide is an epidemic of people eating too many carbohydrates and not enough fats. Your cell membrane integrity gets better as you eat more saturated fats. Fats are very antimicrobial. People who eat lots of saturated fats just don't fall sick because viral envelopes, replication of viral envelopes gets gummed up with coconut oil and other oils. And so other fats that are natural, cold pressed, and minimally processed.
So Shema, would you go back just a minute? Something you said about coconut oil that it wasn't quite clear what you were saying. Could you repeat that?
Yes, coconut oil is a saturated fat. They call it an oil, but it's a saturated fat. It's very different than soy oil or corn oil or canola oil, which are highly processed industrial oils. So I guess what I keep hearing from people is, gee, I'm not going to eat oil. I'm not going to eat fats because, you know, they have antibiotics or Roundup, and I'm not going to eat chicken because it's in factory farms. I'm going to eat soy instead. I'm going to eat soy oil. What I'm saying to you is go for the ancestral foods that are pure. They can be found. They can be found in Hawaii. They can be found in California. You can ask farmers. You can grow your own. but you want to eat foods that are native to our civilization, and those are saturated fats and things that can be easily garnered without too much processing. And so coconut oil, when you press the kernel, out comes oil. If you press a corn kernel, oil does not come out. And it's processed with hexane and other carcinogenic chemicals. Milk, there's milk and there's milk. Raw milk is God's gift to mankind, and pasteurized, homogenized milk is so toxic. It's so bad for people. People get sick on it. They stop drinking it. They don't get calcium. They don't drink their milk. They get very, very sick. They get irritable bowel syndrome from it. So milk and milk, two different types of food. One is processed milk and one is natural milk. So I would say go for the things the way nature intended. Your brain's 70% fats. And if you are on statins, if you're on Lipitor, I guarantee you're going to live a lot shorter life than if you were eating lots of fats. Cholesterol, high cholesterol is one of the biggest myths and non-scientific pieces of baloney out there. Cholesterol is the most wonderful natural molecule that your body needs to make practically every one of its hormones. Your brain uses 75% of your cholesterol to think. So people on statins have mental fog. People on statins, they have heart myopathy because the heart is a muscle, and statins interfere in the ability to make enzymes. So you get this shuffle, your muscles don't work, your heart's not working, your brain's not working, your libido is not working, statin, and you get cancer. After 10 years of statin use, so many people get cancers. Why? Because you need cholesterol to fight cancers. Cholesterol is a very antimicrobial molecule. So perish all the thoughts of low cholesterol, low fat diets, and eat your fats with abandon. Let your body guide you on what is good and what's rancid. Once you have cooked in ghee or lard or tallow, you will never go back to other fats. Why? Because they taste good. Your body feels good. You have better bowel movements. You digest your minerals better. Your bones need fats to metabolize and fix the minerals into your bony structure.
So I have a question about using tallow or other animal fats. Once I cook with them, should I then put them in compost, or can they be reused?
Well, if you use them to saute, you're eating everything. But if you fry in them, I would say after 1 or 2 uses, you should toss it out into compost.
Okay, thank you.
Would you tell me, this is Auntie Tutu from Hawaii. Would you tell me about lard?
Lard is fabulous, but make sure that pig did not eat beer dregs from your local beer company, from your local brewery. That is how raw milk went from a health food to one of the most toxic foods, because you had raw milk dairies where the cow in cities where cows were fed swill from the whiskey and the liquor industry, and the milk had the same quality. It had crap in it. So your pig has to be pastured. It has to be eating acorns and other natural products, and that fat is amazing.
Okay.
So if you have a garden, by all means, keep a pig, feed it good stuff, and get the lard.
Mahalo.
I don't know if this is applicable to many people, but when we had a farm in Pennsylvania, we would hire or rent out pigs to clear up our fallen apples. They loved it, and we helped clear our ground from the rotting apples.
That is awesome. That is just awesome. Pigs thrive on apples, and you get healthy pigs. Cows in pasture, they're fats. You can take a big hunk of meat, big, juicy, fatty hunk of meat, put some spices on it, stick it on a wooden board in your refrigerator. In 1 week, it turns into delicious, tender prosciutto. And you take slices off of it. You can make beef tartare. I just had wonderful raw beef that has been aged for like 30, 60 days, something like that. Someone gave it to me and it was so delicious, so fatty, so good.
One thing I want to share again, I shared before, but it's very helpful. If I get some raw heart or raw liver or other raw meats, and it's a big chunk, what I do is I cut it in slices, thinner slices, so I don't have to cut it later. And then I put each of the individual slices and make them available for, salting or other herbs on them and eat them separately.
Awesome. What a good idea. How do you store them after you've cut them?
If they're in the refrigerator.
Okay.
And if it's frozen when I cut maybe half of the thing if it's too much to keep. So I'll keep half in the freezer and half sliced up in the fridge.
Our dog, we inherited dogs that were very damaged from vaccines and kibble and all that. And when a week after we inherited them, we started them on raw foods and never looked back. This fellow is 14 years old and he runs like the wind. He's great bowel movements. I give him heart, lung, liver, kidney, testicles, gizzard, intestines, muscle meat, and lots of fat.
There's fat that's available in the raw meat. You also, I know, encourage us to have supplementary fats. How much fat is actually available in the meats or the themselves?
I would say you're gonna get a nice fatty cut. About 70–80% of the calories are from fat, because remember, fat is 9 calories per gram, protein is 4 calories per gram, and a hunk of meat is mainly water, 75% water. The balance of that 70% is fat and about 25% is protein. So you are getting fats when you eat a hunk of meat raw. Try not to cook it.
Okay.
I have a question. So if we are going to put salt and some herbs on liver, and then do we need to store it in a box, or we have to just keep it open on that wooden board?
Open, always open. Always open so that the air comes to it and it lacto-ferments. You want the fermentation action.
And how many days should we wait to consume it? Like
anywhere from 3 to 7 days you can start consuming it, and once it gets properly aged and fermented, then you can put a cover on it, because it's like dry. It gets dried and it's in perfect condition for weeks afterwards.
Okay. And so, but it has to be consumed within 2 weeks or something?
Oh no, I have stuff that's 2 months old, more than 2 months old. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
Auntie who? Not Kai. Someone else had a question. Tootie? Okay. No questions. And then ketones. If your body gets used to eating fats, it learns to burn fats. And guess what? Ketones burn like rocket fuel, as opposed to carbohydrates, which take a lot of steps to turn into energy. If you have cancer, a high-fat diet is awesome. If you have digestive issues, a high-fat diet is awesome. So don't shun fats, Here's a little bit about the structure of fats.
Calamine, excuse me, could you show me that the last one? I'm trying to take notes.
Sure.
Thank you. Cell membrane, ketones.
Yeah. You'll find on a high-fat diet, your brain works better. Remember how you can't remember that word or who was in the, what happened 5 years ago and so on. It'll all come back to you on a good fatty diet.
Oh, you know what is amazing? I have to share. This is Auntie Tutu, T-U-T-U, means beloved elder. I had a niece for many years, model. She was telling everybody, you have to eat fats. Everybody was telling her, you're crazy, you're crazy. Oh my gosh. I'm calling her to say, you're not crazy.
Call her. Tell her, honey, you were right.
Yes, I will.
Sushma, I have a question. If when we eat fats, And if we have fats and carbohydrates, is it best to have the fats separate from the carbs, whether they're vegetables or other sources, or to eat them together?
That's a very, very good question. It's called, can everybody see this, what I'm holding in my hand?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this here, I don't see myself, which is really weird. Here it is, here I am. Okay, so this is think of this as a seesaw. Okay, you get your energy either from fats or from carbs. If you eat both fats and carbs, you're doing what's called tandem fueling. And children who are going vertically as well as sideways need both carbs and fats. So children do very well with bread and butter. As you grow older and you're not growing taller and you don't want to grow sideways, you need to use one source of energy or the other. We have been taught by the US dietary guidelines to eat a lot of carbohydrates, which has given us diabetes. I would say for most of you, you need to eat high fats, not accompanied by too many carbs. So it's not to say you don't enjoy life, okay? If you were eating one slice of bread with 2 tablespoons of butter, I would ask you to use a 1/4 slice of bread with 4 tablespoons of butter to get your energy largely from fats. I would ask you to take vegetables, which have very few carbohydrates, above ground vegetables, slather them in fats and eat fatty vegetables. And so tandem fueling is what you're referring to, Lance. Should we eat carbs and fats together?
Right.
My blanket message for folks that are adults would be try and separate them a little bit. Try and separate your carbohydrates from your fat consumption by 2.5 hours. Because what happens when you eat carbs is your insulin levels go up. Insulin levels go up, insulin grabs those carbohydrates and turns them into fat and stores them in your body tissue. Meantime, you're piling on the fats as well. And so you've got a surplus of fat now, whereas if you're eating only fats, your insulin levels are down and your body metabolizes fats very differently. It actually uses your fats for energy instead of storage.
Great, thank you.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is carbs, if fats away from carbs,
Mm-hmm.
but suppose if we are eating rice, it's a carb.
Yes.
And a dal, that's lentils, they are
Mhm.
proteins.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we do for proteins? Okay, in proteins you can add ghee, so you get fat, or you can cook the
Yes.
dal in ghee.
Yes.
But then I don't know, I've read somewhere they say if you eat only proteins, to digest that protein you need energy which would come from carbs.
From fats. You need to accompany proteins with fats, and you need to accompany fiber with fat. With rice, if you're eating dal, you're eating carbs and proteins. So try not to put ghee on yours. You can put ghee on the children's, right? Because they're tandem fueling. They're eating both carbs and fats in equal amounts. You eat more fats, less carbs. Someone else who is really emaciated might eat more carbs than fats, So it all depends on what your state of life is, what your time of life is, and you adjust it. So what I'm saying is you don't have to make 20 different foods for your family. The same rice, dal, and ghee, you take less rice, more dal, not much ghee. Your children take more rice, dal, and lots of ghee, the tandem fueling. And someone who's very skinny might eat both rice as well as ghee.
Okay.
Further question. Does exercise or body movement have an effect on whether one is eating carbs or fats or proteins or combinations?
Yes, very, very good question. When you're doing weightlifting, muscle building, bodybuilding, you need a hormone called insulin, which is an anabolic or muscle making, generating hormone. So if you want to build muscle, you need to have the insulin. In order to have the insulin, you need to eat a bolus of carbohydrates. So right before you exercise, eat that cherry turnover, or eat a bunch of rice and then go work out like crazy. That energy, that hormone that's released will build your muscles. However, if you're going to go to sleep after eating a bunch of carbs, you can expect to put the weight on your midsection.
Good, thank you.
So timing for exercise and food is very, very important. And so many bodybuilders in the old days would eat a huge amount of carbohydrate before they worked out. Now they just take injections of insulin, which is awful. And they're all going to die early and get cancer. But that's the effect of an anabolic hormone.
Okay.
And the opposite of insulin is glucagon. Insulin converts carbs into fats. Glucagon converts the fats into carbs. So the opposite happens when you're in a starved state, and then your body puts out glucagon. So I would say fasting is a wonderful thing, because now your body is making glucagon instead of insulin and converting your stored fats into energy.
Does the extent of fasting, a length of time, affect the development of the glycogen or the other usage?
Yes. Your body, your liver stores about 100 grams of glycogen, not much. It's like a stick of butter's worth of glycogen. But as you fast, on day one, you burn through that glycogen. So you burn through all the glucose-like carbohydrates in your body. By day two, you're starting to burn your fats. And if you're fat adapted, the more fat adapted you are, the more you'll burn your fats as you go into the fast. And then the fast does amazing things for your body, like it kills cancers. I have clients with cancer who go on anywhere from 10 to 20-day fasts, water fasts, and their tumors shrink because the body becomes like a lean, mean fighting machine. It takes out cancers, tumors, scar tissue, warts, tags. People get clear skin, eczema. Nothing like a fast to cure skin conditions. Fast for 24 hours with water and electrolytes. You will have great resolution of your stomach symptoms and your skin symptoms. And why is that? Can anyone guess why fasting makes it better?
Because the body utilizes the fat that's stored.
Yeah. It's basically you're burning fats. In a fasted state, there's no carbs, so you're burning your body fat.
Does intermittent fasting have a somewhat similar effect or not? Or is it just a different purpose?
Yes, it has a similar effect. It has a slightly different purpose. It may be used to make your body more sensitive to insulin if you're on the verge of diabetes, and it will prevent chronic inflammatory disease. So fats, fasting, water fasting for extended periods of time, intermittent fasting are all solutions that are way better. Remember, primum non nocere, no drugs, first do no harm.
Yeah.
These are modalities that will help you get better with zero drugs.
Sukshama. The fasting, is there another aspect when you do the fasting? And I think it was like so many hours that when you do that, it goes down to the cells, and where the cells start to change and start the cleansing actions begin or is happening at the cell level that creates the health and wellness. Do you know the amount of time?
Yes.
And what the name of that is?
Yes. So that's a very good point and a very important thing. On day one, you burn through your carbs. Day two, you start to burn a little bit of your fats. Day three, something called autophagy sets in. Autophagy means your body says, any protein that's badly built, I'm taking it out. I'm redeploying that protein to make good proteins. Your enzymes, which are not working before, start to work better. Your proteins are made of very complex stereoscopic ribbon, and they get denatured in your body because your body is tired.
Not from Zoom I can, but if I had a YouTube link, I could.
I think someone needs to put themselves on mute. Okay, and so that's called autophagy, where your body cleanses itself. That happens on day three. There's also something called the immune system effect, which is your immune system becomes much more potent, much more active when your digestion is shut down. That happens day 3 to day 12, and that's when your immune system literally, it takes out the inefficient lymphocytes, macrophages, white blood cells, and you make something called the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which it's like stem cells that produce all new immunological cells that make you better resistant to disease, that give you great health, that confer health upon you. So if you have a chronic problem, and if you're not underweight, fasting is a wonderful way to heal yourself. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned electrolytes. So only salt and water fast is okay?
I would say potassium chloride, salt. For a quart of water, use a 1/4 teaspoon of potassium chloride, teaspoon of salt, some lemon juice. You can put in herbs like rosemary, thyme, and all that, and make it delicious. It will kill your appetite. It will give you all the electrolytes you need. Just don't put sugar in it.
Okay.
You can make kanji. If you make that kanji, that's a wonderful electrolytic solution. Contains probiotics as well.
Sushma, I have another question. For extended fasts, like over 2 or 3 or more days, does the autophagy actually increase or continue, or is there a point where it doesn't do it anymore?
Yes, it does. That's when the magic begins. From day 3 to day 21 is when the magic begins. And if you have, especially cancer, if you do what's called a press and pulse technique, where you starve the body, and even if you take chemo and radiation at that time, it doesn't harm your body. It selectively, preferentially kills your cancer cells. If you take things like fenbendazole or DCA, some of these molecules that kill cancer cells, they act 10 times more efficiently in a fasted state. So magic happens to your body at that time. Your skin regenerates, your cells regenerate. All the inefficient systems kind of die down and get replaced.
I've got a further question about fasting. It's maybe getting a little more specific, but the longest fast that I've done are 3 days. I've read or heard that if you do longer fasts, it's best to do it in a controlled setting or with support or other guidance along the way. Any comments about that?
Yes, if you have blood pressure, if you have diabetes, if you have some chronic condition, you want to do it under supervision, or talk with your doctor and say, hey, I'm fasting. I work with a number of people and they do long fasts, and we have daily communication, and they talk about their symptoms. It's a combination of homeopathy, electrolytes, fasting, and tumors shrink and great things happen. And it's important to know the difference between fasting weakness and, oh, I'm dying weakness. So you have to measure your blood pressure, your weight, your glucose, your ketone levels. You have to be very systematic about it in order to do it right. And I can still say with great confidence that doing this is way less toxic, way less dangerous than the drug route, which is far more dangerous for you. You just don't know it on that day.
Good, thank you.
I have one last question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm doing intermittent fasting since a week.
Mm-hmm.
But in the morning, it's like it starts after 5, after sunset till sunrise, and maybe 2 hours after sunrise. But if I think of doing a 2-day fast or even a 24-hour fast, and in past, like for Ramadan and all, I have tried doing fast, but I can't. I'm only scared that if I don't drink tea, then it will give me a headache, which will affect my day. So if only drinking coffee, plain coffee with the water and maybe some butter in it, or maybe I'll remove the butter out, only coffee is allowed on a fast.
If you cannot live without it, it's okay. If you're used to it, by all means do it. But over time, you'll get used to not drinking caffeine, because what caffeine is doing is it's going to jack up your adrenals. So it's telling your body to make cortisol. Cortisol is made by the liver, and cortisol promotes sugar production. So anytime you take caffeine, you're going to make sugar.
Okay.
So, but small amounts are okay. And remember, you give your body permission to do things in a way that makes it easy for you. So if the first time you fast, you drink coffee and tea, that's fine. Next time you will do differently, a little bit less caffeine, a little bit more electrolytes. And by the third time, you'll be fine.
Okay.
So there's no hard and fast rules. I've had people wanting to do 2-day fast and they go on to do 20-day fast. I've had people who decided to do, 15 days fast, and after 3 days, they just couldn't do it. And that's okay. It's okay. Be kind to yourself.
Okay.
But understand that for any kind of chronic inflammatory disease, and if you're not emaciated already, there's nothing as wonderful as fasting. All righty. Next. For some, this is the dull and boring part. For some, this is the exciting part. This is molecules of fatty acids, folks. And on your left is a saturated fat. And as you go more and more towards the right, it becomes more and more unsaturated. This here is carbon. The big fat blobs are carbon, and it is attached to OH here, COOH here, and hydrogen atoms on over here. All the little guys are hydrogens. And when a fat is unsaturated, there's 2 double bonds, meaning it's missing a couple of hydrogen here. And there's a kink where there's 2 double bonds. And this is the weakness in this fat. This is your soy oil. This is your corn oil, which is liquid. And therefore, it doesn't stack up at room temperature like butter, like coconut oil, which stacks up and is solid at room temperature because it's fully saturated. There's no double bonds. There's no rancidity, very little rancidity. The more double bonds a fat has, like this one has 2 double bonds, that's linoleic acid. This one has 1, 2, 3 double bonds. That is linolenic acid. This one has 1 double bond, that's oleic acid. This is stearic acid, which is present in cows, butter, cream, tallow, lard. All these fats are stearic acid, a lot of them. And as the oils thin out, they become more and more rancid. And what do? We cook with these oils. When we cook with these oils, these double bonds burst and break. And think of these as little sharp knives in your arteries and veins that create a lot of chronic inflammation, arteriosclerosis, diabetes, and chronic disease. Stick to the fats on the left-hand side that don't have these double bonds. These are your naturally occurring saturated fats. No questions?
Coconut.
Yes, a question for repair. I haven't had, but for one who's had polyunsaturated fats, for instance, for quite a while, and wants to get to the image of stearic on the left, does it take a long healing process, or does that depend on how long the person has been using these other oils?
That is such an excellent question. It all depends on how your body's organs regenerate. The immediate effect will be on your intestines, where your cells, your enterocytes are sloughed off every day and new cells take their place. All the new cells will get your saturated fats. There's some cells that take 10 years to die. And if they're full of linolenic acid, it's going to take 10 years for those to fall out and be replaced. But by and large, your body regenerates from between 1 day and 2 months. So you will see a huge effect in the first couple of months, and then it'll be a slow down effect. There's some neurons that never die. And so, but you will see very dramatic effects in a 3 to 7 year period of eating in this fashion. Good. Which is when your bones regenerate, all the new bone cells come in, new neurons, new cardiac cells are generated.
I would like a little clarification of stem cells. Does this relate, or is it a part of this discussion or not?
Yes, very much so. Stem cells are old, ancient, primitive types of cells that are de-differentiated, meaning these cells can morph and convert into any cell in the body. Cells that are muscle cells, cells that are intestinal cells, cells that are neurons. And having stem cells is very important, which is why you don't cut the cord right away in a baby, because all the stem cells are in the mother's cord and placenta. And the reason they're not in the baby is because it has to pass through the birth canal. And if you pumped in all the blood into baby, it would never get out the vagina. So when it comes out the other end, you've got to let the cord pulse so that all the stem cells go into the baby, and they are an inheritance of the baby for life. So these stem cells help to repair, regenerate cancerous tissue, wound tissue, where you need neurons, you need connective tissue. These stem cells come there and make all of that. And so stem cells are very important. And more of these are generated when you fast for some reasons, unbeknownst to us. It's magic.
Yeah, that's a bit further question, because I wanted to know if there's a regeneration of stem cells, or is the baby and from birth given a specific number that is limited?
There's a regeneration of stem cells. Certain conditions will cause stem cells to be regenerated. And that is exactly what the brain-derived neurotrophic factor is. It causes new cells, healthy cells, to be generated from the stem cells.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
But the more you have at birth, the better. You know, there's like 2 million stem cells going into a baby's body. And by cutting off the cord ASAP, you're depriving the child of the precious iron. Iron prevents brain retardation, and you're preventing the flow of stem cells into the child.
Do certain practices increase the regeneration of stem cells, such as what you've been encouraging us to do?
Yes. It will first not put a strain on your current cells. They will not die as fast. They will regenerate better. It will create more stem cells that will replace the defective cells. And fasting in particular seems to accelerate the stem cell regeneration factor, which causes healthy cells to come from these de-differentiated cells.
Where, maybe this is, I'm looking too specific, but where and how are the stem cells actually created? Where are they located? Are they in each cell? Are there certain categories of cells that?
Bone marrow. They're located in the bone marrow. And at sites of wounds, the stem cells will frequently come. They will divide the tissue up. So some will turn into, if you have a wound or an injury, the stem cells rush to that point. And you notice how some people heal very fast and some people don't?
Yes.
People with a large supply or abundance of good, strong stem cells will make all the types of cells that are required for that wound, whether it's a bone break or connective tissue or nerves. Everything comes from these primitive cells, which the body orders, or they order themselves into neurons, connective tissue, muscle cells, veins, arteries, bone, etc.
I'm constantly amazed at the limits of my supposed understanding about how the body works, about stem cells, for instance, that the brain seems to know, or the brain seems to know where the stem cells should go and to what they should differentiate.
Yes, yes. And you know, we're so arrogant. We know 1% of what is knowable out there. Yeah. And we kind of use that to think we know everything. We didn't know a whole lot of this stuff before, but our intuition, our sages, our wise people told us that was so. But now we have scientific evidence. But in the meantime, we've completely ignored that wisdom that things can regenerate. We're very plastic.
Right.
Fingers, if you chop off a finger, it can regenerate.
Like a salamander, really?
Yeah, just like the salamander. People still, even doctors don't know it. If you get rid of this finger, you just stick it back in and it'll all fully regenerate. You don't have to amputate fingers. So we still have some of those salamander capacities, but we are a very differentiated animal. We're very complex, but we still have an enormous capacity for repair and regeneration. The other thing fasting does is it increases the There's these telomeres that determine the lifespan of each cell, and it increases the size of those so that they stay alive longer. Your cells stay alive longer.
So the telomeres are of different sizes? I didn't know that.
No, telomeres are caps, or they're caps at the ends of these, and it sort of burns down into natural cell death, and then the body says, okay, time for the cell to die. The telomeres have shrunk to this point. But when you do certain things, they don't shrink as fast. You have more longevity per cell and greater regeneration per tissue.
Great.
All righty, so everybody knows that saturated fats stack up like that. They have no double bonds. The unsaturated fats have double bonds. That's very important, guys. And this is just that same picture translated into oils. Coconut oil has 92% saturated fats. Butter, 70%. Palm oil, 50%. And the greens are the monounsats, and the blues are the totally unsaturated fats. So look at this: rapeseed, canola, walnut. These are all the super unsaturated fats. Do not cook with them. You can use some of these raw if they're freshly pressed and not rancid. Flaxseed goes rancid very, very fast. So stick to these oils and fats on the left-hand side: coconut, butter, palm, lard, tallow, etc. They are the highly saturated fats to cook with, especially.
One of the things I know you've encouraged us to do is to use animal fats because of the vitamin components. I wasn't aware that coconut was even greater in the amount of its saturated fats, but it's certainly missing some that the animal fats don't have.
Correct. Yes.
Does that
It's
mean
missing the vitamins. Yes.
Yeah. So that mean that we could increase our intake of coconut oil in addition to the animal fats to increase our, I guess I'm calling it health.
Butter contains A, D, K, and E. Animal fats contain A, D, K, and E. Plant fats only contain E.
Okay.
So if you're eating coconut oil, you want to eat animal material that has the other fat soluble vitamins.
Okay, of course. Thank you.
All right. And this, I'm going to leave you with this simply because this is so important. You guys, your intelligence is not located in your brain. Your intelligence is located in the periphery of your body, in your cell membranes, what is outside of your cells. This is where your intelligence is. These are bits of fat, bits of waterophilic, meaning water-loving globules of a molecule which has tails that are fat-loving. Okay, and so this is called a lipid bilayer, where you have glycolipids, meaning it has carbohydrates as well as fats. It's made of a bunch of different things, but parts of it are water soluble and parts of it are not water soluble. This is so your cell knows to let in certain things, to let certain things absorb and dissolve, to shun certain things. And so the main thing you need to think about in your life is, how do I make my cell membrane healthy? People who eat oils, this membrane is limp. If this membrane is limp, it's tough. I mean, this is common sense. Stuff cannot pass through a limp sock. If it has integrity, then you have a protein channel, you have cholesterol, you've got all sorts of channels that can allow food and electrolytes. There's sodium on the outside and potassium on the inside of the cell, and there are pumps that drive all these goings on that need to be healthy. And the way for the cell membrane to be healthy is for you to have ample cholesterol and ample saturated fats in your cell membranes, which will give you overall health. So people with chronic disease, we need to focus on cell membrane health. Your cell membrane guides you on what genes to turn on and off. So it's not your DNA which is making you sick or better. It is your cell membrane that's telling. Yeah, it's your cell membrane that's telling you, hey, that gene needs to be turned off, or that gene needs to be suppressed. It's your cell membrane that's looking at all the Roundup, swimming around it, and trying to put up protective barriers. So the more sturdy your cell membrane is, the better your health.
Right.
Any questions on the cell membrane?
No.
Um,
It's incredibly complex. I mean, you're describing it in what I'm calling simple terms, but I'm thinking that maybe describes some of it, but there must be more to how this thing actually undergoes or happens other than our logical so-called left brain understanding.
Exactly. And I'm calling it a membrane for want of a word. It's actually not even a membrane. When you charge a solution, certain molecules go, there's negatively charged particles and positively charged particles. So these are all electrically driven. That's Becky with the milk. These are electrically charged, sorry about that. These are electrically charged, and these are what cause certain molecules to glom together and certain other molecules to unglom. And when we ground, when we are on a beach, when we have our feet in ocean water, when we walk on the grass, we're collecting electrons from the ground, and we're making our cell membranes whole. We're giving our body the ability to make electricity and friction. Like when a cat stretches in the morning, or when your dog stretches in the morning, it is grinding one muscle on top of the other and creating electricity, which is charging its batteries. So drinking fresh air, fresh water, being in nature, being attached to the earth and not 25 stories up is critical to the health of yourself. Not having computers and cell phones and Bluetooth in your ears is critical to maintaining the health of this. I had a client who had a glioblastoma, just like a cell phone. He used a cell phone as a contractor for 15, 20 years, way back when cell phones were new. Died of, we couldn't save him. Nobody could save him. He had bad brain cancer. Because the membrane structure breaks down with this constant EMF on your unnatural EMF on your body. The lipid bilayer gets destroyed.
Read some examples of, I guess for want of another word, thoughts or mental attitude that can affect the electrical charge that exists in the body.
Absolutely. When they say someone died from grief or was heartbroken, literally electrical impulses travel through your body and kill you. They can tell you, because your body is governed by all these seismic forces that are unseeable. It's Hanuman's vital force. It's your immune system is guided by it. Your whole body, your world is guided by it. We're not sticks and stones and calcium and phosphorus. We're a force.
Yeah.
And so we make friends that make us feel good. We have husbands and wives that we get along with or don't get along with. We have people we hate, people we love, and some people are magnetic. Across the room, you can feel someone's heart energy. A lot of it is the energy a person exudes towards another person, and that constitutes or makes your biological systems very different than what they might otherwise be.
With your work with clients, have you had experience of people sending so-called prayers or energy at a distance and having that effect be measured?
Yes. People routinely pray for others, pray for things in petri dishes, and there's all sorts of experiments, telepathic communication that have been going. And Marconi developed radio waves. Who knew what radio waves were? We thought it was all magic. But you can communicate over long distances. You can. You hear in old Indian tales, they said, you could, it's today's microwave, make chapatis on someone's back. They could focus that kind of energy. And there's this guy by the name of Wim Hof who has, he filled his body with very toxic stuff, and he was able to, with his immune system, with the power that he had within him, meditative power, heal himself, not get sick, or not be infected by the illness. And so we have enormous power. We have enormous power if we know how to harness it.
Mhm. Right.
All
I
righty.
have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Since we are talking about the cell membrane, what is the role of mitochondria then?
Mitochondria are organelles. This is the cell membrane, and the mitochondria are very good question, are on the inside of this cell membrane. So imagine this a round blob with this membrane on the outside. Mitochondria are bodies. They're little cells exactly like this that are sitting on the inside. And evolutionarily, what happened was we were anaerobic fermenters. We humans were, and many millions of years ago, we found bacteria that can do respiration, and for the same amount of glucose, they can make 36 ATP. And these mitochondria are the primitive bacteria that got included into our cells because we wanted to live in symbiotic harmony with another being that added to our well-being. So mitochondria are literally exactly like bacteria. They have walls, they have a cytoplasm inside them, and they respire aerobically. So you can take oxygen and burn sugar and make 36 ATP in a respiration cycle that is very efficient. And now we're finding out that cancer is not a disease of the DNA. It's not, you didn't get cancer because your mom got breast cancer. You didn't get it because of that. It's because of mitochondrial disarray. It is because of lack of energy coming from your mitochondria. And that can be healed by electricity, by grounding, by making your mitochondria healthy, by getting rid of your bad mitochondria and your body growing new mitochondria. And that's exactly what cancer patients, that's how tumors shrink. Because when you're fasting, all the mitochondria that rely on glucose, heavy duty glucose expenditure die out because they're defective mitochondria. And what is left is the cells which have effective mitochondria, and these are the non-cancer cells. And so you find that when you fast a person, the cells that eat glucose for energy or do anaerobic respiration or fermentation die out selectively without killing the healthy tissue. Whereas what does chemo do?
Kills all. It
Kills everything. It kills healthy tissue. So the entire premise of cancer therapy is completely lunatic, because what you're doing is it's a race between your body and the cancer. Who dies first when you do chemo and radiation? Whereas with fasting, only your unhealthy cells die. Your healthy cells remain just fine because they can burn fat. They don't need sugar to burn and remain alive. And the cancer cells die out, and you come out of it cancer in remission.
I've read and pretend to know, which I really don't, the idea that 1/3 of our cells are maybe related to us as human bodies, and 2/3 or so are all the other things that are, viruses and molds and fungi and all those other good guys in us that help us along. Are there ways, or do some of the practices, including fasting, help those to grow or develop better?
Yes, don't bathe don't clean your skin as often. Let the bacteria grow on your skin. Bacteria help you make cholesterol sulfate and vitamin D. Eat lots of probiotics. You're actually 1% you. 99% of you is other. Viruses, bacteria, fungi, prions, worms. These are the creatures that are keeping us alive, not us.
So is what we do, is there some way that we know that can help them to develop, or not overwhelm, but that support us?
Yes. Don't eat antibiotics. Don't take chemo and radiation. Don't do drugs. That's the single most important thing you can do. Don't get antibiotics through your chickens. Don't get Roundup through your wheat. If you eliminate all the toxins, and if you then take in ferments are a great source. Don't try to wash everything down to the knuckles. You're gonna get all sorts of wonderful, dig your hands into dirt. You get this mycobacteria that are wonderful for you. and learn to live with these bugs, and you will enjoy very good health.
I know
And
that,
that's what the people in the blue zones did. They
yeah,
very much in tune with their bacteria.
I know you've talked, I've read too about little kids or babies who call around and put, practically everything into their mouth to test it or try it out or whatever. Do they have a more protective system than if we did the same kind of thing as adults?
No, I routinely do the same thing my grandson does. I have a very good protective system. It's when you're not used to it that you're gonna, if you eat the right foods, your body is designed to deal with all marauders, and by and large, 99% of them are friendly. And if you have enough friendly bugs on you, they will keep out the unfriendly bugs. They will ward off the pathogens.
Many years ago, Sunshine and I were studying organic gardening, and as part of that process, we went to a farm. I guess it was a farm where they're growing all sorts of things, and one of the farmers encouraged us, which I did, to taste the soil, to take a little bit of the soil and eat it and taste it.
Yes.
And at first I was averse to that, but then I tried it and I was really amazed at how sweet and how good it tasted.
Yep, it smells so wonderful. All right, guys. On that note, we'll carry on with part 3 week after fourth week of September, and I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording. Thank you very much.